What's going on? This is Out of Sports with another WWE video. This time it's going to be the top 5 best WWE Tag Team Champions of all time. Now, this is going to be like more modernized, so there's not going to really be any teams from like the 80s or early 90s. This is basically pretty much like all my videos, Attitude Era forward. So like 1998 and on, you know what I'm saying? For the most part. Number 5 on my list is the Dudley Boys. Now, a lot of people might argue the Dudley Boys should have been higher, but I'm just taking into consideration the WWE Tag Champions, because in total they're like 25-time Tag Champions. I'm not sure how many WWE ones they have. They have a lot, but a lot of their reigns was really short, as was a lot of teams back in the day. And if you look at like how long that they was in WWE for, they weren't there for like the longest time. They got phased out at the end of their run, and then when they came back in was it 2015? They don't even count that because they never won any titles. Terrible run, but the other boys are great. Just because they're number 5 doesn't mean I think any less than anybody else does of them. They're great. Dudley Boys, there was just always something cool about, every move they did there was a special thing to every move they did. And of course they had all the classic TLC matches and table matches with Edge and Christian and the Hardys. Nobody ever forget those matches. Those are, those are going to be classics in 100 years. So number 5 is definitely the Dudley Boys. Number 4 on the list is the Usos. The Usos, in my opinion, are the greatest tag team in the world currently. I know they're not a tag team right now, but when they're a team, there's just nobody better, in my opinion. The Usos first won the tag titles in I believe 2013 or 2014. And back then I wasn't really the biggest fan of them. They wore the face paint and all that, but once they changed up their look and went to SmackDown, man, since then they've also wrestled better since then. I felt like, you feel me? And they've won nothing but SmackDown Tag Team Championships, but they've won a lot of them during this time period that I actually was a fan of them. But overall, every reign they've had, there was substance to every reign. The Usos, nobody puts on better tag team matches in 2020 than the Usos. I'll say 2019 and 2018 because, like I said, they haven't been active as much this year. Number 4, Usos. Number 3, Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian, it cannot be argued. Edge and Christian, if you compare Edge and Christian, Dudleys and the Hardys, they were the most successful as a team and then as singles. Because if you look at it, both of them won WWE World Championships. Neither of the Dudleys won a WWE World title. And as far as the Hardys, only Jeff won the WWE World title. Matt did win the ECW title, but I'm not going to count that. That's not the same. Edge and Christian both were the World Heavyweight Champion, and Edge was the WWE Champion. Edge is one of the greatest of all time. Christian, in my opinion, he's one of the most underrated of all time. And every time they had those tag team championships, like, you don't really remember the matches unless they were like hitting people with chairs, But every time they were backstage and they were playing kazoos and the 5-second pose, man, there was nobody better than Edge and Christian when it came to shit like that, bro. To get the fans involved, man, and just to get a motherfucker to hate you, bro. To get someone to really dislike you, they knew exactly how to do that. Number 3, Edge and Christian. Just amazing team. They should be higher, but they had even less time as a team than the Dudley Boys did. But I put them so high on the list due to also the singles success that they had. I know it's a tag team title video, but you do have to take that in consideration in certain circumstances. Number 2, I'm going to go with all 3 members of the New Day. What is there to say about them? They are the longest reigning tag team champions ever out of every team that has ever stepped foot in WWE. Nobody has ever held the tag titles longer than them. You know, they're still going to this day. You know, yeah, it's Kofi and Xavier, but they're still going. You know, tag teams never lasted this long. You can say the same thing about the Usos. Them and the New Day are the only teams from this generation that have stood the test of time. Look at all the other teams. They're no longer there. You know, the New Day, I hope they never break up. I hope there's always, even if the next draft, Kofi and Xavier get split up. Let's say Xavier goes to SmackDown, Kofi stays on Raw. Have Xavier be Big E's manager on SmackDown. Or maybe just have them team up, since Kofi's going to be on his own. New Day should never break up. All right? They're one of the greatest teams of all time. That's why they're number 2 on this list. And their tag team title reigns are legendary. They're the tag champions as we speak right now. They continue to make history as we speak. And number 1, might be biased. Jeff Hardy is my favorite wrestler, bro. But the Hardys are number 1. But I doubt anybody would argue that. Hardy Boys, in my opinion, are the greatest tag team for one reason, and that's longevity. They came in the 90s. And the same things I mentioned about the Dudleys and Edge and Christian. They had the greatest matches with those 2 teams. But you also got to take into consideration all the other teams in the division at the time. There was the New Age Outlaws. There was Too Cool. There was the APA. There was a lot of teams back then, man. You take that to 06. Because I've already spoken on the Attitude Era tag title reigns. They were all great. You go to 06 and 07 when they were a team, they had a decent tag title run in 07. They were still going in 2007. People thought they were done in 07. It's crazy. But, people thought they would never be back together past, 2002 when they broke up. But they reunited in 06. And after they lost the titles in 07, they did go on to their singles careers. And Jeff became one of the biggest stars in WWE history. And Matt became, Matt had a great career too. You can't take anything away from Matt. He should have been more, but, you can say that about a lot of people. Matt's great. And then you take into consideration TNA. This has nothing to do with TNA, but they also were a team in TNA. Then, somehow, 10 years later, in 2017, they reunite once again. They're in WWE, and they are the tag team champions. Name another team besides the New Age Outlaws that did something like that, in WWE. Like, successfully. Because people hate on the New Age Outlaws reign because they were too old. The Hardys weren't too old, They're both still going to this day. Hard, So in 2017, they were the hottest thing in wrestling at the time. Once again, Jeff was at the top. He was the most popular thing in wrestling. They won the tag titles then. 2 years after that, in 2019, they won the SmackDown tag titles for the first time. The Hardy Boys have stood the test of time like no other team. I said that about New Day and Usos, about this generation. Thing is, the Hardys are the only team of that past generation that were still around a year ago. I was saying that New Day and Usos are the only team from their generation that stood the test of time. Well, there's a team called the Hardys that even surpassed, that. They surpassed most of the teams from this generation, And every time they had the titles, man, everybody loves the Hardy Boys. They're great. Who doesn't like the Hardys as a team? Number 1 is the Hardy Boys. There's no arguing that, in my opinion. But that is the top 5 best WWE Tag Team Champions of all time.